penetration remains low. Despite numerous public awareness and marketing campaigns, Kenyans are yet to change their attitude towards insurance. This has often thrust a number of small and medium enterprises into trouble when misfortunes occur. But the question has always arisen on whether the industry regulators and players have done enough to win the hearts of small traders with their products and services. This is the heart of the conversation this afternoon. Welcome to this episode of Business Now. I'm Yvonne Okwara Matole. Here are the highlights. What does it take to insure your business as a small and medium trader? Benefits of insuring your business. We speak to a trader on why he chose this path. And in our Made in Kenya series, Wandia Gishuru, CEO and co-founder of Vivo Woman, recounts her journey. And to have this conversation with me, like we said, we're talking about insuring your business. I know businesses are all about day-to-day running, but what has been your experience, or have you considered insurance for your business? The hashtag to use is Business Now, at Yvonne Okwara at Citizen TV Kenya. And the guests to speak about this conversation with me are here and ready with us in studio. John Murera is the director of Gal Baking Services. He'll talk to us about his experience with getting insurance. Also on the show this afternoon, Joseph Kamiri, who's the General Manager, Marketing and Customer Experience at CIC Group. And from the insurance industry regulator, we have Anne Chelagat, who's the Head of Consumer Education at the Insurance Regulatory Authority. Any questions, comments you've got, my guests are ready to answer them and give you their experiences as well. So that is the conversation that's happening in just a few short minutes. But first, let's take a look at stories that are making headlines in the world of business this afternoon. Let's begin with Unga Group PLC that has picked Joseph Malel Choge as the incoming Group Managing Director with effect from the 1st of December 2021. In a notice, the miller and manufacturer consequently announced the retirement of Nicholas Hutchinson from the group. He will, however, continue to serve in an advisory capacity for a period of time to ensure a smooth transition. Elsewhere, the Kenya Revenue Authority has seized 25 containers of hides and skins at the port of Mombasa in a tax evasion scheme. The taxman says the government was poised to lose 75 million shillings in export duty if the culprits succeeded in sneaking the cargo out of the port. And finally, the Nairobi Metropolitan Services will begin automation of traffic management at the Green Park terminus in Nairobi. The move follows the Kenya Railways Corporation's deployment of 4 of its engineers to NMS to help in the exercise. The automation of the systems will ease access of details for both public service vehicle operators and commuters online. The hashtag to use is Business Now. We're talking about insurance for SME traders, business operators, and entrepreneurs. What is your experience? Have you ever sought insurance for your business? Do you even think it is something that is important? Talk to us today. We will be hearing from my guests in studio, but we'll also be hearing from traders around the country on the issue of insurance. So welcome to the show. Hashtag Business Now at Citizen TV Kenya, at Yvonne Okwara. If you wish to send us a text message, the number is 22422. Let's get into the conversation. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you all for making the time for us on Business Now today. Let me begin with you, Anne. From the regulator's point of view, what's your experience with, uptake of insurance in the country? I mean, we can speak about it from a general point of view, but also from people who are running business. Are we seeing an improvement over time, or, is it the same, and why?
Yvonne, over the years, there have been improvement of the uptake of insurance. We can contribute that to what the authority has done in terms of creating insurance awareness, and also in terms of the growth in premiums. We've seen over the years that premiums have been growing. That can be attributed to the uptake of insurance.
So seeing a growth in that. Let's talk about specifically now, the SME sector. And, at CIC Group, you're offering products that are tailor-made to this sector, Joseph. So talk to us about first of all, why one would want to take insurance. I mean, when you look at the MSME sector, they're mostly concerned, you're at that level where your business is growing and you're building it, and you have all of these challenges that are associated with that growth stage of your company and your business. Why should an SME entrepreneur consider insurance?
Thank you very much, Yvonne. Now, insurance is very important to the SME and the small-scale traders. The reason is because in the Kenyan GDP, the small-scale industries contribute over 30%, and that is why that is a very important sector to us. Now, there are many ways of managing risks, and one of the ways of managing them is to insure them. Now, why I say this is because when you wake up in the morning, there are many dangers that are there. Your small business could be burnt down, your stock could be stolen, or even your staff can take some stocks out of the shop. So, and you could even have an accident, or you could even get sick. Now, that is why we need to have insurance for those small scales, so that you can have that continuity in your business. So if you don't want interruptions in your business, because they'll still come, but then how do you take care of them? Mm-hmm. The way to take care of them is to insure them, because those dangers and risks will still be there.
Yeah, and a lot of these are sometimes out of your control as the business entrepreneur. So you're trying to manage the risks that are outside your sphere of control within your business. Like you said, you've given some of those instances. Are you seeing an increase in the uptake, particularly at CIC, where you offer some of the products? We'll talk about them in a moment.
Yeah, we have seen a big increase in the uptake of insurance with the small-scale enterprises. And this has come up as a result of people experiencing some of those unforeseen events. For example, there have been quite a number of fires in many markets. People have lost property through theft, and so also the staff have been injured when they are working. So there are those things like now the work injury benefit. So because of all this, and people are getting aware, and because you need to compensate them and you need that business continuity, we have seen an increase in the uptake of that insurance. Okay.
I will come to, John in a minute to speak about his business and what sort of help, or improvements he's seen, with respect to the uptake of insurance. And depending on, different sectors, what sort of options are available, in your business when you're trying to, insure it? Which stages, which processes of the value chain across various businesses should one be considering when it comes to taking insurance?
Yvonne, first of all, the SME has to start with maybe analyzing their risks, because of course different SMEs do different businesses, so they are not all the same. So you have to analyze your risk, look at it, what is it that you're doing? Are you offering products? Are you manufacturing products? Are you offering services? So it depends exactly on what the SME is doing. So based on the risk analysis, then you go out into the market and identify the kind of products that you need. And the best thing that you can do is not only go to one insurance company, you go to 2 or 3 insurance companies offering maybe the same products and compare in terms of what are they offering, how are those products packaged, and what are the premiums. So based on that, now you make a choice.
Okay. Yeah. When we were speaking earlier, you talked about, like, if you're in the service sector, you might want to consider insurance across some processes. Yes. If you're in retail, you might want to, consider insuring certain aspects. Maybe you could give us like a general overview. We'll also come to you perhaps to do the same thing. So if you're providing services, what sort of products would you be looking for, or what sort of aspects of your business would you be looking to insure, maybe for retail, for manufacturing, for instance?
Yvonne, if you're looking at services, basically probably you're giving advice, or you're just giving services. So one of the important insurances that you have to take is professional indemnity. In case you make any errors, in case you're negligent, then you need to take that type of insurance. When it comes to products, of course, you're offering your products to the public. Anything can go wrong when they're consuming your product. So it's advisable to take product liability. You also are going to be transporting those products. So you have vehicles. You have to take motor insurance for those vehicles. You think about yourself and the drivers who are maybe taking your products all over the country. You have to take a personal accident. You think of also your employees who are in the product line of making those products. Anything can go wrong, like an injury. You have to take a WIBA to protect your...
And WIBA is?
That is a workman's benefit.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So you have to take insurance to protect your employees for any injury that might occur, and also any occupational disease that might arise in the course of their employment. So those are very key. There are very many, and of course you look at also issue of theft, issue of burglary if you're storing your products.
Right.
So there are very, very many products, insurance products that can be taken out there. And as I said earlier, Yvonne, you have to do a risk analysis. And of course, you also look at what can you afford. And when you do the risk analysis, because there are so many products, then of course you decide which ones are more important. You kind of rank them so that when you're taking insurance, you're taking it from the highest point of need. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Looking at the highest priority. Would you like to add something, Joseph, to
yeah.
Anne said?
I think Anne has really spelled them out.
Yeah.
But I think if you looked at the way the businesses are operating, and more so the small-scale traders, you find, like, we can give an example of, say, it's a small-scale trader in a certain village or in a certain shopping center.
Yeah.
You find that the type of people you find there could be shopkeepers. Now, if you look at a shopkeeper, there are many things that they are dealing with. For example, they lease the stock, that sukari thing. There could be whatever they are selling, fat and all that. So you find that if there is a fire, you need to guard yourself against that. You need to protect yourself. So that is why you need that fire insurance. Or there could be theft. There could be robbers coming in and they take even your money and all that. That is why you need that theft insurance. Okay. Or it could be even the owner of that shop. There are diseases that are all over, and medical is a main thing.
Right.
So again, you need some medical insurance for you and even for your staff.
Okay.
Or there could be that it's a supermarket, and so there are staff who are working with you. And those staff can say have some kind of infidelity, and things can disappear. Okay. There's a lot of things that are happening between the staff.
Yeah.
So some things may disappear. Again, that is, you need some insurance on fidelity guarantee. Okay. Or it could be that you're going to the bank depositing the money. So again, you need cash in transit, which will protect you against that. Okay. Now, there are many other covers that are coming up. For example, there could be a death. Now, in that death, there is what you call funeral covers. And you can take it for your staff, you can take it for the staff together with their families and all that. So there are all those. And what we have tried to do is the small-scale insurance traders are not the same as these big other factories. So what you have done is to try and maybe tailor-make them so that they are not as confusing as for the corporates. So you try to combine a number of policies together, so that if it is fire, burglary, or fire, theft, and workmen and all that, you bring them together in one policy, so that it's not as complicated as for the corporate. Good. Because you want to have it as simple as possible. Because
that was going to be my next question. We've talked about so many products, then somebody would be thinking, so I need one insurance policy for fire, one for theft, one for vehicle, one for workman's compensation. And it just seems like it's complicated, but at least making that simple, that it's one package that would then sort of help to guard against all of these risks that we've mentioned so far. So I know this is something that sometimes seems like it's far-fetched, but we've brought you somebody here in studio to talk about his business and his seeking insurance, just so we can get an understanding and hear it from the proverbial horse's mouth. John, thank you for joining us. Speak to us about your business. What do you do? And what sort of insurance did you consider, and why?
Yeah, thank you, Yvonne. We are in the baking industry, ideally. We are bakers. We bake cakes and cookies and bread. That's what we do. And ideally, we have machinery, we have vehicles that transport and distribute these products, and also we have staff who work, for us. And therefore, initially we, of course, thought we needed insurance, but we did not think we needed so much insurance. I mean, in terms of, the way you are saying, there are very many different types of it.
Yeah.
But what we knew a lot was that the vehicles needed to be insured, because then the vehicles have a legal aspect in which you must insure. But as we moved on, we discovered that you need to go beyond the legal aspect of insurance. You need to actually cover yourself in a big way. Because there are times when, you need to be able to make sure that if the risk actually happens, then you don't end up losing out. And therefore, for the time we've been in the business, we have insurances covering our vehicles and covering our staff in terms of health insurance, and we have also workman's compensation, and we have fire and theft. We basically cover most of our items and our risks.
And how helpful has that been, for you and for people who might be thinking, this is such a complicated process. How am I going to get this? What for you how has that improved the way you do business, how you do it, maybe safety, security, peace of mind?
Yeah, one of the major things is when you have vehicles on the road, I think it's very paramount to have insurance that is comprehensive insurance.
Not third party.
Yes.
Yes, because a lot of people do third party, yes.
Yes, comprehensive insurance. So that then in case of an accident, for example, then at least you're sure the car also will be repaired. That's number one. Number two is health insurance. Now, health insurance comes in particularly for the owners of the business, because then a few times you might discover that sickness can come along and you find yourself spending most of the money into paying bills, and then the business suffers. Then the other thing is the staff. The staff themselves have a bit of worry in many things in which they are not able to be sure about tomorrow or about their other children and the people they have left at home. So when you give them a simple insurance, not very, very expensive insurance for health, they are able to actually visit the local clinics and get treated. And that helps them a lot because they don't really have too much worries.
Has that helped in productivity, do you think? Because now if your workers aren't, like you said, perhaps you can't insure somebody 100% and for, to the tune of 10 million shillings or whatever. But how do you feel that has impacted, their morale and how they work, knowing that they have some form of health insurance? Yeah,
they even commend themselves, even in meetings, and say, like if they have a baby who's unwell, then they are even able just to say like, they even send assistants, say, look, just, pick my baby from school or some place and peleka kwa clinic, kadi iko pale kwa meza nini, so it becomes very, very easy, and you can see actually that they are not worried even if you are in a meeting or trying to tackle something, they continue with the process of the work you are doing because they know this one is taken care of. Okay. So it works very well.
Okay. And they get motivated. Interesting to hear, and it's so great to hear your experience. We're also, like we said, asking around, and so I would like us to start to hear from some of the traders that we spoke to around the country on just what their experience has been like. We've heard from John in the baking industry, ensuring various processes of the business, from fire and theft vehicles, and also providing some form of health insurance for all the workers. But what's the experience of many other traders across the country in the MSME sector? We spoke to Kenyans around the country. Watch this.
Challenges zimekuwa because number one, the first challenge yenye tulipata the moment nilijoin industry ni watu wa NEMA. Remember walikuwa wanasongesha distance from mali maji iko na mali tuko, and then wakaweka fence. So the first fence walieka ilichomekanga na moto ya kwanza. The moto ya kwanza, it was a shock because it was a first time. By then bado sikukuwa stable kidogo, bado nilikuwa nafanya biashara 1 2 3. Sasa kitu ilikuwa sasa challenging is the more una grow the moto ikaendelea kufanya, cause nimechomekewa mara 4 nikiwa hapa. So inakuanga tu after moto the government will say we will do the investigation, the culprit will brought to book, lakini hakunanga justice ishaifanyika. Okay. So far sidhani kama kuna insurance yenye inaweza kukuensure Gikomba, and if there is, wataifanya sasa kibiashara whereby you will be charged highly, yenye ukipiga hesabu utaona sasa ni kama haiwezi kukusaidia.
Hiyo itakuwa kazi ngumu. Kwani kuchukua insurance uinishue mali ndio isichomwe. Mimi yangu ni mwenye anachoma aache kuchoma.
Saa hizi huku hakuna bima. Huku bima yetu ni Mwenyezi Mungu. Yeah.
So I can see a lot of reaction around the table to that. Maybe I can begin with you, Anne. Just, a comment on, I mean, Gikomba is one of the places that you've seen, perennial fires, and that sort of thing. And just, I guess, the hesitance and, the lack of perhaps knowledge or appreciation of insurance. Is this something you're also hearing quite a bit? People saying, even if we have that, the premiums will be too high. It doesn't even make sense at the end of the day. What's your response to what we've just heard?
Yvonne, when I listen to the traders, basically I think it's lack of insurance awareness. They do not understand how insurance work, or they've not even heard about insurance. So they're talking maybe from a point of not having any knowledge. And for me, I think there's a need to create insurance awareness, and particular for the people in Gikomba. And it points to the insurance industry to focus on that area, because if they are aware that they're able to cover their stock, and the premiums are not as expensive as they seem to think, and probably if you ask them, they wouldn't even know how much premiums would be charged. And again, they need to understand that with insurance, they then have peace of mind, and they would not have to run to the government to wait for the government to investigate and for them to come up with a solution. They already have a solution in place, knowing that if there is fire, they'll be compensated and they'll come back to business.
One of the things the initial traders had spoken about is, he spoke with respect to government coming and investigating the fire. But I think for a lot of people in general, when you have insurance, is the process of getting a payout. And sometimes it seems a lot more tedious, when you speak to that. Is this the case, or is it a perception? And if it is the case, what is the IRA doing in terms of perhaps streamlining processes, within the insurance sector? Because I think, the stories you hear about insurance are, kuingia ni harusi, kulipwa ni matanga. That's, that's sort of what you hear. So talk to us about the processes. Or is it a misconception that we have? What is needed when you want to make a claim? Like, there's been a fire and you've lost some of your stock. Is it a complicated process, as many of us imagine? Maybe rightly, maybe not.
I think, Yvonne, there seem to be misconception. And one of the things that people do when they enter into insurance, they actually do not read what the contract entails. So it is good that when you take up insurance, then you get your insurance policy document and read what is contained in that policy document, so that you're in agreement on the terms and conditions. Sometimes when a claim happens, it's outside the terms and conditions of that policy. And that's when someone will say that insurance does not pay. So we advise that once you take up an insurance, then ensure that you get your policy document, read and understand that document, because it contains the conditions, it contains the terms, it contains also your obligation as an insured person. Okay. So that when a claim happens, then you're able to put in your claim according to what is contained in that document. And it is clearly stipulated in the Insurance Act that if you put in all is required, the necessary documents, then your claim should be paid within 90 days.
Okay, so yes. A claim paid within 90 days. Look, and we'll come back and talk about what are some of those key terms to look at, in the terms and conditions, and sometimes it is complicated. You look at this document and there's many things. So we'll just talk about some do's and don'ts and some terms to be aware of, just in a very general way, so that we know what to do. Joseph, maybe a reaction to what you've heard? There is no insurance company, they said, that insures against fire, particularly in Gikomba. Is this the case?
Thank you, Yvonne, for that question. It's a very important question. I think for me is, as Anne has said, there's a lot of misconception in insurance. And this has been brought up by maybe because of some mis-selling, where when you're being sold the insurance, you're not very clear what exactly you bought and why. So I would say that there is insurance, as I said, for the small-scale traders, including those ones in Gikomba and these other other markets. But of course, what has been happening is, I remember in 2018, there was a very big fire in Gikomba.
Yes.
And CIC as a company, we paid over 400 million in terms of claims to the small-scale farmers.
So what you're saying is CIC has insured traders in Gikomba.
Yeah,
before.
we had insured traders in
yes.
Gikomba.
Okay.
But because of these other many fires that which are coming like periodically, whereby every year you find there are two or so fires.
Way more.
Way
more
are
than
coming
two or
up.
so, yes.
So we had a little bit to retreat and now reorganize ourselves and see what is this that we can be able to do.
All right, but just to reiterate what you've said, there was a time with that big fire, you paid out how much in claims?
400 million in terms of claims in 2018.
Okay.
So there is insurance for even people who are the small-scale small-scale traders who are there. Now, for now, we are not covering Gikomba because we had to retreat back and see what is it that we can be able to do for us to be we are also in business. Now, when you're taking insurance, I think the most important thing to look at is to know what are my needs. What do I need to cover? Then after you have identified that, then you come and say, who is my partner? Who am I going to go with? Because you need a company which will definitely pay your claims. And then what is the process that you went through? So that whatever you insured is actually the right thing that you have insured. So again, it's a whole process of how you go around insuring. From the time of taking the policy, the time of reporting that accident, and how you now, the documents, whatever documents you are being asked, and whatever you are being asked to supply, you supply them. And I'm telling you, if that one is done, then you find that everybody is happy.
Okay.
Both the small-scale trader and also the insurance company.
Okay. All right.
So there are policies which would be able to cover that.
Yeah.
The only big challenge that we have right now is for the open air traders. But for the others, we are able to cover them.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. We'll come back and I have a couple of quick questions. For instance, does your business need to be registered? You know, what are sort of the requirements that you would go with to CIC or indeed any other insurance firm? What are the key things that would be asking you for in your business to ensure that you first, pre-qualify for, an insurance product to begin with? As well as more questions, the terms, the do's and don'ts, all those things you hear, excess, ningapi, what is it, what is that? So we'll be getting an understanding of that, plus hearing more from you around the country on insurance for the MSME sector. We also have Made in Kenya that's coming up here on the show featuring Vivo Woman, and we will be right back in just a moment. Welcome back. We're talking about insurance in the MSME sector. Have you considered insuring your small business? If not, why? We've been hearing from traders at Gikomba Market. We've also heard from a business owner here with us, as well as the regulator and the CIC group who are here with us in studio to talk about that. So we've heard from those traders, and I think we'll hear a little bit more from them in just a moment. But Anne, you started to talk about what we need to know, going into insurance. So tell us some of the do's and don'ts, and then some of the key terms that we need to look out for. It says terms and conditions apply, but sometimes those terms and conditions can be a little complicated. What would be some of the simple things for us to look out for, what to do and what not to do to make sure we get the right product that then ensures success, for a payout in the event that we need it?
Yvonne, as I earlier mentioned, you need to identify what your need is and prioritize your needs, because as I said, there are several insurance products that are out there. So once you identify what is your need, you look at what your product is. And as I'd mentioned, it's very key that you get your policy document. And when you look at your policy document, you have to ensure that it has the appropriate commencement date. Does it capture the sum assured? When we talk about the sum assured, is what is going to be paid out in the event of a loss or in the event of a damage. What is covered? Is it have you ensured that the policy that you're taking is covering what you intended for it to cover? Is it covering the right product? We have instances, also you have to look at, maybe it's let's talk about you've taken a life cover. When is the inception, when is the maturity dates? Because there have been instances where it's been brought to our attention that a life policy has run beyond the maturity date. So you have to be careful about that. And the question is that the don'ts. So within your policy, then you will be told there are certain exclusions or there are certain things that you have to do. For example, if you're taking a fire policy, then maybe you have to, in your premises, you have to put a fire extinguisher or the sprinklers. So those are the things that you have to keep in mind.
So if you don't do that, then you void the the insurance policy, for instance, or could that be problematic?
Those are the things that they'll say it will pay. Because you remember I told you there are those obligations. Yeah, there are those obligations. So you have to fulfill obligations. So what I'm giving you is just, for example.
So what you're saying is there are obligations for the insured.
Yes.
And the insurance company.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it is important, because I think most of us think I've paid you money and I want my money back because, I've experienced loss or damage. So what you're saying is that the insured also has obligations and responsibilities that they must fulfill.
Let me give a very simple example. Let's say, for example, in his bakery, he's taken a theft of burglary insurance, and then they leave their doors open, and the equipment is stolen. That means they were negligent. They have to take due care. So there's certain. That's why I'm saying there's certain obligations that, as an insurance, you have to take due care. Yeah.
Okay, noted. Some of the big terms, anything? I know you talked about some assured.
There's some insured. There's something called premium. Maybe for us insurers will think premium is a very simple thing to understand. But premium is actually the periodic payments that you make towards your policy. And then the sum assured is what is paid after a loss or a damage occurs. And then, of course, when it comes to maybe a motor policy, there's what is called excess. That means excess is what, there's an amount that you, as insured, you have to pay to ensure that you're also careful to avoid instances whereby you get your bumper knocked, you go and you want your car to be fixed. So there's also, it makes sure that you take due care. So there's amount which is called excess. So if, for example, your car has been damaged to a tune of maybe 500, let's say 100 or 200, the damage is worth 200,000, maybe your excess would be something like maybe 30. So you bear the first cost and the company will bear the rest. Yeah, so those are some of the terminologies, and there are many, depending on what cover you're taking. Yeah, there are very many. Those are just examples. But all that is contained within your policy document. And that's why I said it's important to read and understand. And if you don't understand, then as an insured, talk to your insurance agent, talk to your insurance company, let them explain to you what some of these terms mean before you even sign up to it. And you have once you get the policy document, you have a period of about 30 days, but depending on the company, that you're given time to read that document. And if you don't understand it, you can revert back to the insurance company and ask them that I don't agree to this or I don't understand to this, and then at that point you can have it changed before the policy commences. Yes.
All right. And the role that IRA plays in terms of regulating the industry, if anybody has, an issue, a complaint, what is the role of IRA in terms of, managing the relationship between the insurer and the insured?
In instances where an insured has a complaint, then they can file a complaint with us. We have a department which is dedicated to complaints. So we have a consumer protection department. So if anyone is aggrieved, an insured is aggrieved, then they formally put in a complaint with us. We'll be able to look at that complaint. If it's something that can be discussed between the insurance company and the insured to come to an understanding, then we provide the space for that.
All right. And also education, right? Because from what we've seen, we clearly need quite a bit of that. In fact, before you carry on, let's listen to the final traders, and then we can come back and start getting our final comments. Watch.
I sell grade 1 timber bells. I've been in this business since 2016 August. you need a lot of capital. And for us, small traders, we might not get all that cash. So we deal with suppliers who import from different parts of the country. I have 4 suppliers, and some of them, like the recent fires, some of them lost a lot of stuff. Actually, one of my suppliers had brought in 2 containers the previous day. So she lost a lot, and by that I was affected because the things that I was supposed to take from her, I didn't take. And I mean, when I don't get stuff, my customers also suffer. I decided to insure my business because of things like shop breaking, which rarely occurs, but we want to be on the safe side. Yeah, we might not get fires on these buildings, the permanent buildings, but it's always good to have your goods insured.
Kitambo kulikuwa na fununu, kuna watu walikuwa wanachukua insurance, unaona, ama loan. Mtu anachukua loan ya 1 million and then akona stocks ya insure stock. Wale watu insurance wamekuja waka access, wakaona umse can able to pay this 1 million, atakuwa analipa hiyo loan yake. So ilikuwa solution ilikuwa tu expectation, we are not sure, as in mtu akishauza stock yake kabaki hata 10,000 atachoma hiyo duka. Remember now, when you are taking a loan, the loan has to be insured in most of banks nowadays. So utapata the insurance italipa ile loan, yeye ile mita yake atakuwa ameingiza kwa mfuko.
Benedict clearly had a lot to say about this, and it's good to see quite a bit of passion around that. So just, your closing thoughts, and, at least we're starting to see some people saying, look, we've taken this, in the event of this, and how she suffered losses, even though, the theft wasn't on her end, but it was from her supplier, and how it hurts you across the value chain, including, your customers who expect, a certain consistency in terms of, stocks. So just your final thoughts, and we'll come to the rest in terms of, insurance in this country, and you're talking about education. Certainly from what we've seen, there needs to be a lot more, right?
Yes, Yvonne, there need to be a lot of insurance awareness creation. And that has to be done across the industry. Both the players, the insurance brokers, the intermediaries, as well as the regulator. So if all effort is put towards insurance awareness, then of course people will take up insurance. And they'll be doing so from a point of comfort.
And a point of knowledge.
And a point of knowledge as well, yes.
Great. Thanks for that, Anne. Joseph, you had wanted to add something regarding, excess payment. And even as you do that, just talk to us about, I come to you and I've got Yvonne Okwara Enterprises. What are the key requirements you want before we even start saying, okay, great, so this is your business, and what are the key requirements that I should come with? What sort of disclosures do you expect on the part of the trader that then says, okay, great, yeah, so we can work with you, and these are some of the products that we can offer?
Yeah, thank you, Yvonne. I think I wanted to add something on excess,
yes.
Because excess is one of the most annoying things that
one of the most misunderstood
that customers
annoying, yes,
usually will come complaining about.
Right.
And but just to say that initially when they are taking the insurance, they are usually not told about this excess. But when now the claim comes, you are told there is something that else you need to pay. And the question is, had I not paid for, I paid for my premium, why are you asking me? This time around is you supposed to be paying me, not me paying you. But there's something else that you call also, you can also protect that excess with what you call excess protector. So that at the time you have a claim, you don't pay the excess because you have paid something else little to cater for that.
All right.
And the other thing that also confuses customers a lot is I have paid my premium. And at the end of the year, there was no claim, like you had one of the customers saying. And the question is, so why don't you refund me back my premium?
After all, I'm a good customer.
After all, I'm a good customer.
Haven't had any issues, yeah.
So again, all this is about creating some awareness and trying to show how is it that we pay. Because insurance is about numbers. And what usually happens is that there'll be 1,000 people who have insured. But out of that 1,000, only maybe 5 or 10 will claim. So it is like you pulled all your money in terms of premium. And then from that premium, now we pay that unfortunate person. So it is not that you have lost your money. In fact, if you don't claim, you just praise God that nothing happened. But in that event that you'll now have that claim, then the insurance company will
That's
come
when
in
you'll see
and
how
pay you.
important it was.
That's when now
right?
you see how important it is.
Okay.
Coming back to your question of how you now apply for insurance, it is pretty simple. Because as I say, the first thing is first of all to establish what is it, what are your needs, and then looking for the right partner, because there are many partners. Now, the questions they ask are pretty simple. We need to know, of course, what is your name. So in terms of either, is it your individual name, or are you trading in your own name, or are you trading in a company's name? So if you are trading in your own name, then there isn't much that we need. Now, if you are trading in a company's name, then of course we need the registration. Then we need to know where is the location of that business. Is it in is it in Githurai? Is it in Kawangware, or where it is? Because what usually happens sometimes is that somebody have got like 2 houses, but you insure one of them. Then you find that the fire decided to go to where there wasn't insurance. So that's why you need to know the location. Then we also need to know the type of business that you are in. Is it a school? Is it a shop? Is it a supermarket? Or are you making juices? Or are you a baker? Because different businesses will pay different rates, because the risks are also different. The risk of a bakery may not be the same as the risk of a school. So when it comes to how much insurance you're paying, it will vary with that. Then of course we need to know how much is your business. So if it is a vehicle, we need to know what is the value of that vehicle. If it is a business, how much is it? Because at the point that now you come to pay the insurance, when we come to pay the claim, we revert back to the values that you told us. So it is that simple. Then after all that, now that is when we issue you with the cover, and we calculate the premiums, and then you pay that premium.
And I'm sure there's also site visits, no? Just to make sure that...
Sometimes there are site visits, sometimes there isn't, because you may not be having the capacity to go all over. But what insurances are doing right now is that if a risk is complicated, you can be able to go and see. You said your own staff, they go and invest and see, and they do some assessment, and they give you even the values. Other people will come and say, I don't know the value of these goods of mine. So we can come in and try to do that, just to try and educate people more. Now, the thing that I think Kenyans and even the small traders need to see is to see insurance as an expense. Just like the way you pay for your electricity, for your water and all that. See it as an expense, and you invest in that. So that you're saying, this year I'm protecting my 1 million, and in protecting it, I'm only paying 5,000. So you'll go home sleeping well, regardless whether there'll be fire or not. You have a peace of mind. Yes.
And that's some great advice for you there. Thank you for that, Joseph. John, your final thoughts and comments on what insurance has done for you and the business you run, and advice to other traders and other business owners and entrepreneurs like yourself as to why insurance is important, and perhaps what to look out for, do's and don'ts.
Yeah, thank you. I think for maybe I can begin with advice to other traders, or what I think I have experienced. Number one is hata kama hauna pesa ya kutosha, labda umenunua stock, umenunua vitu zingine, umechukua premises na kila kitu, unaangalia ile risk level ya risk, ile kitu ambayo ikifanyika inaweza kukurudisha nyuma to zero. Unachukua tu hiyo kwanza, una insure hiyo, unachukua insurance ya hiyo part. Kama ni health, alafu unaenda kwa health, maybe wewe mwenyewe unachukua your own health, because if a sickness comes ama an accident, then wewe mwenyewe unatumia pesa yote, you are left with very little. So that's my first advice. Let us first of all start by picking up the biggest risk that can bring us backward. Tuchukue insurance ya hiyo, tuanzie hapo. Then now we can move to the next step. That's number one. Number two is for the regulator. The regulator needs to regulate the insurance companies who are giving us insurance. But it needs to be a bit easier. Akumbuke sisi we are going to the insurance companies to get cover. We were out here so that the regulator is a bit more easier on us. He looks out for us. Ndio atusaidie kidogo. And one of the areas where we have a big challenge is when we go to the insurance companies now, they are telling us that the premium must be paid in full upfront. Now, we have done many other things. We have bought machinery, we have all these other things that are coming upon us. So we find ourselves in a difficult situation. So we need a system in which we are able to get a bit more time and be able to actually take insurance and be able to pay, over 2 or 3 for installments. That would help us a lot.
Okay.
But overall, insurance is important. Yeah. It works very well because it helps when we have challenges come our way in business.
Indeed.
And I've seen that happening.
Great, great. You want to add something quick, Anne?
Yvonne, just to say that my last words is just to say that we need, again, to create a lot of awareness. And for people out there, it has worked for him as a baker.
Yeah.
And he's a small trader, so it can work for everybody else. And as he has said, that we need to prioritize insurance.
Yeah.
And for me, I'd look at it like insurance should not just become a want. It should be a need.
Indeed, that's
Yes.
a good place. That's a very good place to finish it with our conversation here. I would really like to thank you, Anne Chalagat, Consumer Education at the Insurance Regulatory Authority, John Borerwa, Gal Baking Services, and Joseph Kamiri, who's the General Manager, Marketing and Customer Experience at CIC Group. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and for the feedback that we're getting on the show. In just a moment, I'm seeing many people, and also for letting us know, that it can be anyone. It could be trading under my name, or it could be, a business name. Asanteni sana for the information and the insights into this sector. But let's move on to another important segment here on Business Now. It's our ongoing Made in Kenya series. The clothing industry in Kenya is saturated by both local producers and imports. What does it take for a Made in Kenya company to survive in this market? And are Kenyan consumers appreciating locally made garments more? Wandia Gishuru, who's the managing director and co-founder of Vivo Woman, speaks to us about 10 years in the business and the growing appetite for made in Kenya products. So, Wandia, we see the final product, we see the final stage of the garment, such as what we have around us, but this is the very end. Take us through from the start.
Okay. Stage one is really developing the idea. So it's coming up with the concept, sketching it, taking pictures that you've seen on the internet or whatever and saying, I want to base a collection or a style around this idea. So, we'll bring a small team together and say, what do you guys think? This is what we're thinking of. Do you think it's going to work? Is this the right time for it? And so that's the sort of concept stage. You then go into the second stage, which is prototyping or sampling. We need to do a physical pattern in one size to begin with. Once you've got a pattern, you then take the fabric, use that to cut your pieces, and you stitch the sample together. You then have to think about all the multiple sizes that you would do it in and the different colors and fabrics that you would, versions of it. So then you can place this order, what we call the production order.
Okay.
Even at that stage, so I would say that's stage 3, you would need to have a sense of what do we think the demand for this product would be. Is it something that we're quite confident will sell quite well, we can make more of? Is it something we're a little not sure of, so we'll test it, we'll make a smaller quantity first, test it in 1 or 2 stores and see what the response is? Yeah. The speed to market for us has been a key part of our value proposition. The fact that we can design quickly, produce it and get it into store and get it onto social media, get it onto the website within a few weeks has been really good for us.
How has COVID affected your business and the way you do business?
March 2020 is probably when it really hit us that, oh my God, this thing is real. So we actually closed our stores. When we reopened in April, I think April's revenue was 80% down.
Wow.
And we did everything we could to cut costs. We negotiated on rent wherever we could. Luckily, the government put a few tax breaks on PAYE
Yes.
and BAT and stuff like that, so that helped. Some of us took pay cuts. We tried not to let go of anyone, and we didn't.
Is Made in Kenya important? Do Kenyan consumers care that the products that they're buying are made in Kenya?
People will come in and ask, are you sure this is made in Kenya? And yes, okay, then I'm going to buy it. When you're making locally, you are right where your market is. You're able to see, hear, respond, pivot, and create product for this market. So as much as international brands are popular, how often are they making for us? Like, how often are we who is in their mind when they're going through that whole process of sampling, conceptualizing? It's not us, right? So one, I think you can give a product that really fits. Number two is you can respond really quickly. So even if something doesn't work, you're then able to respond faster. Number three, you are creating, and I've done the math on this, you're creating about 16 times more jobs than if you were simply just ordering from a catalog, bringing it here and selling it. The amount of skills that need to go into something, they're the designers, they're the pattern makers, people who do the cutting, the people who do the bunding, the people who do the finishing, the people who do the stitching, the models, the makeup artist, the photographer, the stylist. I mean, if you were just bringing product using content from over there, none of those people would be employed. I also think that from a revenue point of view for the government, we pay full tax on everything we sell at a full price. So if we're selling a dress for 3,000 shillings, the government is getting VAT on that, 16%. They're getting PAYE on all the people we've hired. They're getting the corporate tax at the end of the year, hopefully if we've made any profit. We celebrated our 10th year anniversary in May, and it's been amazing. And Vivo, I believe, has become a pretty strong brand in the fashion space in Kenya.
And that's it for the show. Remember, that is our ongoing series where we focus on companies that are made in Kenya. And if you feel that you want us to take a look at your business, please do send us a tweet. The hashtag is Made in Kenya Business Now. Let us know about your product and we will be in touch. Or you can also send a text message to the number 22422. Please start with Made in Kenya so we can just look out for your text message. It's all about celebrating Kenyan entrepreneurs and the MSME sector, giving you the information that you need to thrive. That's what we do here every week on Business Now. Many thanks to my guests talking about insurance in the country. I don't think I have time to go through the feedback, but please use the hashtag Business Now. I'm retweeting and posting quite a bit of what's been said here on the show. Asanteni sana for your time once again. Wishing you the very best of luck and a great week ahead. And to you as well, great week ahead. Thank you for watching Business Now. Every Monday, we'll see you here again next week. Oh, by the way, we turned 1. How interesting is that? Yeah, so happy birthday to us. We turned 1. Who'd have thought? It takes a great team to put this together. I cannot even emphasize that. And so, hopefully we'll be having a celebration here very soon. And you're free to send us your gifts. It's been a pleasure hosting you for the last 1 year. And here's to another and many, many more. We will see you again next time. Have a good day, a good week, and God bless you.